Jimmy Fallon was talking about the importance of giving back during his Monday night monologue, when a voice from the audience stopped him mid-sentence. "My 16-year-old daughter's heart is beating inside a 22-year-old woman right now," said the woman in the 6th row, "and I want to thank her." The studio fell into complete silence as those devastating words settled over everyone. Jimmy's smile disappeared instantly as he searched the audience for the source of that heartbreaking statement. In seat 6H sat Maria Santos, 48 years old, wearing a simple black dress and clutching a small silver locket in her hands. It was supposed to be a light-hearted Monday show about community service and holiday giving. The audience was in good spirits, laughing at Jimmy's jokes about volunteering at soup kitchens and awkward charity events. But Maria had come with a story that would transform entertainment into something sacred. She sat with perfect posture despite the weight she carried, her dark hair pulled back in a neat bun. The locket in her hands caught the studio lights occasionally, revealing glimpses of a photo inside. Her eyes, though filled with pain, held a strength that spoke of someone who had survived the unthinkable. Jimmy had noticed Maria during the warm-up because she wasn't laughing with the rest of the audience. While 300 other people enjoyed the pre-show banter, Maria sat quietly with a small, sad smile. There was something about her stillness that had drawn his attention, a gravity that seemed to pull focus even in a room full of energy. "Ma'am," Jimmy said, setting down his note cards and stepping closer to the audience. "What did you say?" His voice was gentle, concerned, the tone of someone who sensed they were about to hear something life-changing. Maria rose slowly to her feet, her movements deliberate and graceful. When she spoke again, her voice carried the clarity of someone who had rehearsed these words 1,000 times, but never spoken them aloud. "I said my daughter Isabella's heart is beating inside someone else, and I want to thank her." The cameras found Maria automatically, but this wasn't entertainment anymore. Jimmy's face went through a series of emotions as the full impact of her words hit him. Here was a mother who had lost her child, but found a way to turn tragedy into gratitude. "Your daughter was an organ donor," Jimmy said, understanding beginning to dawn in his expression. Maria nodded, tears starting to form in her eyes, but her voice remaining steady. "Isabella was 16. She died in a car accident 8 months ago." The studio audience gasped audibly, the sound of 300 hearts breaking simultaneously. Maria continued, her strength remarkable. But that night she saved 5 lives. Her heart, liver, kidneys, corneas. Each word carried the weight of impossible decisions made in unimaginable grief. Behind the scenes, the control room had gone completely quiet. Producers who usually managed every second of airtime stood transfixed by the raw honesty unfolding before them. This was no longer television. This was life and death, and love in its purest form. Jimmy stepped off the stage, completely drawn by something in Maria's voice that transcended entertainment. "Mrs." he prompted gently as he walked toward her. "Santos." "Maria Santos," she replied with quiet dignity. "Mrs. Santos," Jimmy said, reaching her row. "Tell me about Isabella." Maria's face transformed immediately, lighting up with the radiance that only comes when a parent speaks about their child. Isabella was beautiful, brilliant, and brave. She wanted to be a pediatric nurse because she loved taking care of people. The audience was completely captivated now, sensing they were witnessing something profound. Maria opened the locket in her hands, revealing a photo of a stunning teenage girl with dark curls and bright eyes. She registered as an organ donor on her 16th birthday, said if something ever happened to her, she wanted to help people live. Jimmy felt his chest tighten as he looked at the photo. "She sounds incredible," he whispered. Maria nodded, her composure beginning to crack slightly. She was. And now part of her is still helping people, still saving lives. "The woman who received her heart," Jimmy said carefully. "Do you know her?" Maria's smile grew brighter through her tears. Emily Chen. She's 22 years old, and she was dying of cardiomyopathy. Isabella's heart saved her life." The studio was so quiet, you could hear the ventilation system. Maria continued, "We met 3 months ago, the most beautiful meeting of my life. I got to hear my daughter's heart beating again." Her voice broke slightly on the last words. Jimmy made a decision that would define this moment forever. "Mrs. Santos," he said, his voice thick with emotion, "is Emily here tonight?" Maria looked confused. "Here? No, she's at home. Why would she be here?" Jimmy smiled through his tears, understanding something Maria didn't yet know. "Because sometimes," he said, pulling out his phone, "the most important reunions happen when we least expect them." He dialed a number he'd been given by his producers during the commercial break. "Emily," Jimmy said into the phone, "this is Jimmy Fallon. I'm here with someone who'd like to see you." The confusion in Emily's voice was audible through the speaker. "Jimmy Fallon? I don't understand. How did you get my number?" "Emily," Maria said, stepping closer to the phone, her voice trembling. "It's Maria, Isabella's mom." The sharp intake of breath through the phone was heartbreaking. "Mrs. Santos, what's happening? Are you okay?" "I'm on The Tonight Show," Maria explained, "and I wanted the world to know what a gift you are. What a gift my Isabella gave us through you." Emily's voice cracked as she began to understand what was happening. "I'm 10 minutes away," Emily said suddenly. "I was watching the show. I can be there." Jimmy looked at Maria, who nodded eagerly. "Emily will wait for you," Jimmy said. "This story isn't complete without you." What happened next was unprecedented in television history. Jimmy stopped the entire show to wait for Emily. The audience remained seated, understanding they were part of something extraordinary. Maria stood quietly, listening to her daughter's heart beat in another woman's chest through the phone connection. When Emily arrived, escorted quickly through security, the reunion was captured by every camera in the studio. A young woman, healthy and vibrant, walked toward the mother of the girl, whose heart kept her alive. Maria's composure finally broke completely as Emily approached. "Mrs. Santos," Emily whispered, tears streaming down her face. "I think about Isabella every day. I carry her with me everywhere I go." Maria reached out and gently placed her hand on Emily's chest, feeling the heartbeat that connected them forever. "That's my baby's heart," Maria said softly, wonder in her voice. "But it's your life now. Isabella would be so proud of how you're living it." Emily covered Maria's hand with her own, both women crying openly. Jimmy invited them both onto the stage, understanding that this moment needed to be shared with everyone watching. "Ladies and gentlemen," he said, his voice carrying the weight of the moment, "this is what love looks like when it refuses to end." Maria and Emily sat together behind Jimmy's desk, holding hands. "Tell us about that night," Jimmy said gently to Maria. "The night you decided to donate Isabella's organs." "It was the hardest decision of my life," Maria began, her voice steady despite her tears. "Isabella was on life support, and the doctors said there was no hope, but then they asked about organ donation, and I remembered what Isabella had said." She looked at Emily, whose hand was pressed to her chest, feeling Isabella's heart. "Isabella told me once, 'Mom, if I ever die young, I want my body to help other people live.' So even though my heart was breaking, I said yes." Emily spoke for the first time since coming on stage. "Mrs. Santos, I was dying. My heart was functioning at 15%. I had maybe weeks to live." Her voice grew stronger. "The call came at 2 a.m. They said a heart was available, a perfect match. I didn't know anything about Isabella then," Emily continued. "But when I woke up from surgery, I could feel the difference immediately. This heart was strong, healthy, full of life." She looked at Maria with profound gratitude. "When we finally met," Maria said, "I asked Emily if I could listen to Isabella's heart. She said yes, and when I put my ear to her chest," Maria paused, overcome with emotion. "It was like hearing my daughter say goodbye and hello at the same time." Jimmy wiped his eyes openly, no longer concerned about his television image. "Emily, what's it like to carry someone else's heart?" Emily thought for a moment before answering. It's like being trusted with someone's most precious gift. I don't just have Isabella's heart, I have a responsibility to live fully for both of us. The moment that followed became television legend. Emily asked Maria if she could listen to the heart too, from the outside. Maria nodded, and Emily gently guided Maria's ear to her chest. The studio watched in complete silence, as a mother listened to her daughter's heart beating in another woman's body. "She sounds strong," Maria whispered, tears streaming down her face. "Isabella always had such a strong heart." Emily smiled through her tears. "She does. And every day, when I feel it beating, I remember that love doesn't end. It just finds new ways to keep going." Jimmy made one final gesture that captured the essence of this moment. "Mrs. Santos, Emily, is there anything you want to say to Isabella right now?" Both women looked directly into the camera, understanding they were speaking to someone beyond the studio. "Isabella," Maria said, her voice clear and strong, "your heart is still saving lives, still spreading love. You're still my brave, beautiful girl. And I'm so proud of who you were and who you continue to be through Emily." Emily placed her hand over her heart. "Isabella, I don't know if you can hear me, but I promise to live the biggest, most beautiful life I can. I'll take care of your heart, and I'll make sure everyone knows what an amazing gift you gave me." The show ended with Maria and Emily embracing, surrounded by an audience that understood they had witnessed something sacred. The image became iconic, two women connected by tragedy but united by love and the miracle of giving life through death. After the cameras stopped rolling, Maria and Emily spent hours talking, sharing stories about Isabella and Emily's new life. They exchanged phone numbers, addresses, and promises to stay connected. Emily invited Maria to her college graduation, where she planned to study nursing in Isabella's honor. The episode aired exactly as it happened, with no editing to diminish the emotional impact. The response was immediate and overwhelming. Organ donation registrations increased by 400% in the following week. Families who had lost children reached out to Maria, sharing their own stories of choosing life through donation. But perhaps the most meaningful response came from other organ recipients and donor families. Support groups formed, connections were made, and Maria became an advocate for organ donation, speaking at hospitals and community centers about the gift that keeps on giving. 6 months later, Emily graduated from nursing school, with Maria sitting in the front row. In her valedictorian speech, Emily spoke about carrying two hearts, the one that beats in her chest and the one that beats in her spirit, both gifts from the Santos family. Maria now volunteers with the Organ Donation Registry, helping families understand the impact their decisions can have. She carries Isabella's photo and Emily's graduation picture in the same locket, symbols of death transformed into life, tragedy transformed into hope. Jimmy Fallon learned something profound that Monday night that changed how he approaches every show. "I always thought my job was to make people laugh," he said in later interviews, "but Maria and Emily taught me that sometimes the most important thing we can do is witness people's courage and help them share it with the world." The Tonight Show established the Isabella Santos Memorial Fund for organ donation awareness, helping families navigate the difficult decisions surrounding donation, and connecting donor families with recipients who want to meet. And in a small apartment across town, Emily goes to sleep each night with her hand over her heart, feeling the steady rhythm that connects her to a brave 16-year-old girl she never met but will love forever. Isabella's heart beats on, carrying not just blood and life, but love, hope, and the promise that some gifts are too powerful for death to stop. The locket that Maria clutched that night now contains two photos, Isabella smiling in her school picture, and Emily at her nursing graduation, wearing Isabella's heart and carrying forward her dream of helping others heal. Two young women, connected by the most profound act of love imaginable, proving that some bonds transcend life itself. Their story reminds everyone who hears it that in our darkest moments, we have the power to create light for others, and that love, when given freely, multiplies in ways we never imagined possible.